Moving down to this other part of the shank, because at the bottom of the shank you will find an attachment that allows you to put on the presser feet. Okay, so they're called presser feet because they're clamping on top of the fabric and clamping it to the feed dog. So there's pressure, and it's pressing down on the fabric. Okay, so there are lots of different types of feet you may come across. And these are some of the common ones. So first and foremost is that most sewing machines on the shank will have an attachment, a bar attachment, that allow you to fit presser feet that have bars on. Now, not all presser feet will have these bars, although the very, very common ones will do. This is just an attachment, and you'll notice that there's a screw at the side of it that also needs to be nice and tight. Sometimes, and it's something that I actually see more regularly than you would think, sometimes that screw is loose or loosens, and then this attachment drops down, and people can't work out what's happened to their sewing machine. So you just need to make sure that this is nice and tight. So looking at specific feet here, your standard zigzag satin foot is this one. Most sewing machines come with a foot that looks very similar to this. This is a very basic one. Some will have plastic components in it, particularly brother machines tend to come with plastic components, and this is your standard stitch foot that can be used for straight stitching. It can be used for zigzag stitching. It can even be used for buttonholes, albeit a little tricky. A very good presser foot to have. This foot here is one of my favourites. It's a zip foot, and what I love about this foot, and we'll go into more detail when we actually cover zips, is that there are channels on the underside to help you sew the zip in nice and neatly, and you can there's two bars, which means you can position it either to the right side or to the left side, and get the needle really close to your zip. These two are linked to buttonholes. So this is the buttonhole foot, and this will actually help you sew a button on using your machine. Not all buttonhole feet look like this. The more complicated machines will have a buttonhole attachment, which will allow you to place the button that you're using onto it, so it can gauge how wide the buttonhole will be. But again, we cover those sorts of feet in the buttonhole section. And then these are sort of your more specialist feet. So I have a couple of examples here of an Overcast foot, which is an absolutely brilliant, game-changing foot if you are doing zigzag stitching on the edge of fabric. Essentially what it does, you'll see that there are bars on these feet which prevent the thread from eating into your fabric. When we do seams, I talk about these in a lot more detail, but these are, in my eyes, quite game changing when it comes to finishing off very neat seams. And then you will have, this is an example of a rolled hem foot. These sometimes come with your basic machine accessories, and it's got a nice coil, so it allows the fabric to roll through there. And this one is an invisible hem foot. And again, I go into a lot more detail about how these work when we cover hems. Finally, I just want to talk about this little gadget, which is a little bit magic. So if your machine has come with one of those, this is essentially a seam guide. So on the back of your attachment, on your presser foot attachment, there is a little hole in which you can place this bar through. Okay, and what this does is allow you to position it along the measurements of your base plate so that if you are guiding your fabric to do a seam allowance, say for example at 5/8 or 1.5 cm, you can position it there and you can use that to guide your fabric. These are far better than any magnets that you may get from haberdashery, because it will not impact on any of the mechanisms in your machine.